What's happening, YouTube? I am Highway to Hill, and this is my bike, Yamaha R3. So in the earlier video I did a long-term review of my bike at 41,500 kilometers, and this is going to be like a follow-up video or like a part 2, because there are a lot of things that I did not cover in my earlier video. That video was already like 20 minutes long, so I omitted a lot of stuff which I wanted to actually talk about. Let's begin with the mirrors. Now these mirrors are really good, they are excellent, they do a great job of showing you your elbows, so you can look at the mirror and keep admiring your elbows. But anything that's behind your elbows, it doesn't do a great job of showing that to you, so you will have to tuck in your elbows on both sides to see anything that's behind you. Let's discuss mileage. We'll split this into city mileage and highway mileage. Now in the city, the mileage that I get is around 20 to 23. It has never dropped anything below that. Even if you are revving really hard, it won't go less than that. I mean, I haven't seen a mileage less than 22 in the city, which is pretty decent for this bike, and also provided that you are always in lower gears in the city. So 22-23 is the mileage that you can expect in the city, and on the highway I get 28. That's the best mileage that I have got on highway. So if you are cruising at around 100 to 120 kilometer per hour, you can easily get 27 to 28 kilometer per liter. Let's talk suspension. The front suspension is just a telescopic 41 forks, no USD forks over here, and obviously non-adjustable. And on the rear you have your monoshock. Now that is adjustable. I think it has a 7-step or a 8-step adjustment. The stock setting that from the factory is very soft. I found it really soft and really bouncy. So the very first thing that I did was to stiffen it up, and that made the ride much better. So nothing fancy over here, just the conventional telescopic forks at the front and your monoshock at the rear. Now I keep saying that this bike is a sports tourer, and to be a good sports tourer, I think one of the main things that you require is the ability of the bike to carry luggage. Now where can you carry luggage on this bike? Tank. Now the tank is a bit high, also because that you sit pretty low. You sit really low on the seat, and if you put a tank bag over here, which would come, let's say, at least at this height, so now you can imagine it may kind of hit your helmet, the chin, and it may also block your dash. So I don't use a tank bag over here. I used to have a pouch. A pouch is okay, but if you're using like a proper tank bag, it may kind of obstruct your view of the dash, and your helmet, the chin part, will keep hitting the tank bag. Now other luggage carrying options on this bike, you can use a tail bag. That's what I do most of the times. I just strap a couple of bags on top of this and just use bungee cords and luggage straps. You can also use a claw bag. The claw bag is, I think, the best setup for this bike. For that you won't even need a saddle stay. But if you're using your saddle bags, then you will definitely have to use saddle stay for this bike, because otherwise without the saddle stay, your bags will definitely touch the tires, and that's kind of risky. So in the city, I just use that bag that you see over there. I carry that around, because otherwise there is no room or no space on this bike to carry anything. And since this is a fed bike, you can't hang any bags or anything on your handlebars. Now another one thing that this bike really impressed me was filtering through traffic. I have never owned a fully fed bike before, the R3, and I had this weird perception with that because it has these fairings, this bike would be difficult to filter in traffic, and because of these wide mirrors, it will get kind of difficult to get through in traffic. The mirrors, yes, the mirrors are wide, you can fold them and then filter through traffic, but otherwise what I discovered is that the bike is really narrow compared to some of the other fed bikes. For example, like Apache 310RR or Benelli or something like that. The bike, or even a Ninja 300, the bike is pretty narrow, and filtering through traffic is so easy. I can go in really tight spaces where some of the even commuter bikes with wide handlebars can't go through. And that was such a pleasant surprise on this bike. Obviously here you have clip-ons, and they are low and really neatly tucked in, so it's really super easy to filter through traffic on this bike. Let's talk about the clutch. It's not super light because it doesn't have assist and slipper clutch, but it's not really hard as well. I think it's somewhere in between. I think it's a little bit on the lighter side. But one thing that I always follow, I never ride my bike without my gloves. And riding with gloves, I think it puts a little bit less strain and stress on your fingers, and pulling the clutch becomes a little bit easier. So I think it's somewhere in between, but a bit on the lighter side. Now let's talk about the ground clearance. Ground clearance is really excellent. Now initially when I saw that the seat height is so low at 780 mm, I thought maybe the ground clearance might be compromised, but the ground clearance on this bike is 160 mm, which is excellent. Over the past 41,500 kilometers, I mean, I've been on all kinds of roads. I have never scraped or scratched anything under my bike, and 160 is just perfect. I think anywhere between 150 to 160 you will be totally safe on our roads. You won't scrape anything under the bike. Now another thing that I want to talk about is the ease of maintenance, the ease of working on this bike by yourself. Now it's a CKD bike, right? And I want to keep my costs down as much as possible, so I do a lot of maintenance myself, cleaning the chain, adjusting the slack, lubing it, changing the brake pads, etc. Attaching all these accessories, your frame sliders or your pilot lamp, etc. So I do all of these things myself, and I found it really easy to work on this bike. All you need to do is just invest in a paddock stand, and you can do a lot of maintenance by yourself. Now let me give you an example when I talk about ease of maintenance. For example, on this bike, if I have to change the air filter, it takes me less than 5 minutes. All I have to do is remove this seat and remove this panel, and the air filter is right here. I can finish the job in less than 10 minutes, compared to some of the other bikes. For example, let's say Apache 310RR. You have to remove like some of the fairing settings over here, then you have to remove the tank, and then you get access to the air filter. You can do it by yourself. I mean, it may take a few tries and you can do it by yourself, but it's not easy. It may take you 20-25 minutes to remove the tank and all this fairings. Same thing on some other bikes as well. For example, a Dominar 400, you have to remove the tank to even get through to the air filter. So that way the bike is engineered and designed really well, so that if you want to work on the bike, it's pretty easy. The only complication that I face on this bike when I'm working is the fairing part, because removing and putting them back on can be a little bit tricky, but that's like a common thing with all the fed bikes. It's a little bit difficult to work on fed bikes compared to naked bikes, but otherwise I think overall it's a really easy bike, very friendly bike to work on if you want to do your own maintenance. And finally, I want to talk about price. Now it is expensive. I think we all agree, anybody who is a owner, who is not a owner, I think we all agree that it's an expensive bike. 4 lakh on road. I mean, this is in Chennai. There are other states where the taxes are high, and the bike goes close to 4.2, 4.3 even in some of the states. So yes, it's expensive. Yeah, we all agree on that. It's a CKD, it's expensive. But after this, what matters is, do you see value? Do you realize value? And when I got the bike, obviously I found it expensive. It was not even in my budget. I had to extend my budget. My budget was 3.5 lakhs. I extended it to 3.96. That's what I paid for this bike. And when I got the bike, I had that feeling that okay, I have purchased a very expensive bike. I only realized the value of this bike after owning it for a couple of years. And it's kind of a crazy circle, you know. From the outside, you see this as an expensive bike and you may not buy it. But unless you buy it and own it and live with it, and only then you will realize the true value of this bike. I think I have realized great value, and that's what is important. It's kind of a crazy, like I said, a circle, a kind of a crazy paradox. But those are my opinions on the pricing of this bike. And that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you soon in the next one. Until then, I am Highway to Hill, and you ride safe. Ciao.